Jennifer with the Nonprofit Startup Show. I'm so glad you're tuning in today. The Nonprofit Startup Show is a straightforward, relevant online nonprofit education show for passionate founders, co-founders, and board members of nonprofit organizations. So today we are going to talk about board meetings, and I'm going to be specifically talking to board members of startup nonprofits. So there's a question that I've been asked recently by nonprofit founders and board members of startups, which is, what should I do at a board meeting? How should I run my board meeting? What needs to be on the agenda? What's the right way to run a board meeting? So we're going to talk about that today. I'm just going to offer some practical tips and strategies that you can implement right away. So first, let's talk about the purpose of a board meeting. The purpose of a board meeting is for the board of directors of the nonprofit organization, the leadership, to come together and touch base about the current state of affairs of the organization and to make plans and discuss how to move forward to meet the nonprofit's goals. That sounds simple enough, right? So, board meetings. It's very common, and I highly recommend it, to touch base about the state of your finances at every board meeting, at every regularly scheduled board meeting, I should say. So your board might meet every month, it might meet quarterly, it might meet every 2 weeks. There's no really right or wrong frequency. It's based on your needs. But at those regularly scheduled board meetings, you'll want to review your current financial state. And in order to do so, you'll need to be keeping up with the bookkeeping, keeping up with your receipts, knowing how much you've been spending, how much you've been bringing in, and then gathering that into a report of sorts. Now, I know a lot of startups might not have access to bookkeeping software just yet, but you can still create some charts and tables to track your expenses and income, and you will want to share that at your board meeting. So let's say you meet monthly. So it's January right now. So let's say you met earlier this month, and you're going to meet in a couple weeks in February. So during this time, whatever the income and expenses were, you'll want to capture and share that with your board so that everyone will know what the state of finances are, and you can discuss it to see if there are any areas of concern, so that you can make sure that you're growing the financial capacity of your organization in a sustainable way. So that's one thing that you want to touch base on at regularly scheduled board meetings. And I say that because sometimes you might need to call a board meeting for a special purpose to address an issue. It's not necessarily to talk about finances, but just something that arises. But at regularly scheduled board meetings, you'll always want to review the state of finances. And another thing is, a lot of startups miss this step, is that it's very important to take board meeting minutes. And those that do take board meeting minutes might not get to the second step, which is to get those minutes reviewed by the board members. So again, let's say you all met in January, your secretary took the meeting minutes. At the February board meeting, as a board, everyone should review the minutes to make sure that they're accurate and agree that these are the accurate minutes, this is exactly what was discussed and the decisions that were made, and make a vote to approve those as the official board meeting minutes. After that, once it's approved, the secretary can sign off and date that these are the approved meeting minutes of the organization. So that's something important to do as well. Now, as far as the actual agenda, practically speaking, it's up to you how you want to organize it. You can talk about reviewing the minutes at the very beginning of the agenda if you'd like, and then you can talk about the finances after that. It's really what works for you. Every organization is unique, and every organization has different needs. So practically speaking, on the agenda, you can start it off with call to order. That's just a formal term of calling the meeting to order. You can literally write call to order, number 1. Or you can just write number 1, welcome. Whatever your style is, whatever works for your board of directors. And at the end of the agenda, you can write adjournment. That just means the meeting is ending. So in the minutes, you can actually record, this is when the meeting started. It was called to order at noon, and it adjourned at 1:30 p.m. or whatever it is that the time you ended your meeting. Or you can just write end of meeting, close of meeting. So use whatever language fits your nonprofit's needs the best. So in between that welcome and closing, or call to order and adjournment, Like I said, you can review the financial state of the organization, review the meeting minutes from the previous month, and then in between that, it's always great to have an organizational report. So a lot of startups, the director of the organization is also the board president. Some founders serve as the director and the board president. Other founders are not necessarily on the board. There's no wrong or right way. Again, it's what works for your nonprofit. But whoever is leading that day-to-day of the organization, I recommend that they give a report about what's been happening at the organization. And one practical way to think about it is celebrations and challenges. So let's talk about all the celebrations that happened in January, all the great things that the board would probably want to know about. Let's talk about some challenges. So what are some challenges that have happened recently that board, we need your help with so that we can reach our nonprofit's goals? And then after talking about celebrations and challenges, giving a report about the organization's state, maybe you want a section on your agenda where board members can bring new items of discussion to the table. Now, just a tip for efficiency is I would recommend contacting all your board members before the board meeting, whether that's a phone call or email or text, whatever works for you, to see, is there anything you'd like to add to our board agenda this month? That way you can add it on the agenda before the board meeting happens, and you'll know what's on the agenda. Another efficiency tip is to send board members everything that you want to talk about at the board meeting before the board meeting. Copy of the minutes, copy of the financial state, anything else you want to discuss, upcoming events. That way they can review it and come to the board meeting with questions and not use precious time at your board meeting. Nobody likes super, super, super long meetings, and you can have a more fruitful meeting. So, okay, so you might be wondering, so who takes charge of putting this board agenda together? That should be the board chair, so whoever the board chair is. And the board chair may or may not be the founder, but founder, you are an integral part of leading the organization. So founders or directors of the organization leading the day-to-day should work together with the board chair to come up with the agenda. But again, that founder may also serve as the board chair. It might be the same person. So I hope this has been helpful. Make sure to check out our resources at optimizepassion.com/nonprofit startup show. We'll be adding some board meeting agenda templates that you can take a look at, tweak, and fit the needs of your nonprofit organization. So thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.